Hey everybody, Derek here to bring you another video for The Walking Dead Season 6. I'm starting to feel much better now. I'm getting ready to make some new videos based on some of the things that we've seen over the last couple of episodes, as well as some things that'll be coming up on the show. And my video tonight is going to be dealing with Carol. And really, trying to look into what happened with her character in these last few episodes and where I think it might lead her in the future. If you are not caught up with The Walking Dead and you do not want to be spoiled in any way, then I would exit the video now and come back later, because otherwise you will be spoiled. Okay. So, what really happened with Carol in these last two episodes was, a very shocking and terrible ordeal that, ended up resolving itself. We saw Carol had, returned to Alexandria, and during this time period when, the time jump happened, she had gone into the role of being, a provider, a role that she had, taken on earlier. She was cooking, she was, checking in on people, really acted like the community mother, if you will. Then we get to the part where, we have to go out and fight the Saviors. Carol does this, and she ends up getting captured by several members of the Saviors. And we saw that Carol had a very tough time with this. She was, hyperventilating. She was starting to breathe very heavy, really scary, to see her act in that way. And a lot of us were thinking, oh, well, this is Carol just acting. Carol really has this plan to fool them all and to, wake up and kill them and, save the day. And while she did do that, the way that she went about it, and the reasons, behind everything were not what we thought. It turned out that Carol really didn't want to do those things. It turned out she really was panicking. It turns out that she really didn't want to kill these people. And, it took a lot of provocation on the part of Paula and Michelle, who she did end up killing, to really force her to have to kill. And, at the end of the episode, when we see Rick kill Primo, the other Savior, we saw Carol having a very terrible reaction to that, and she ended up cutting her finger on the crucifix that she had sharpened, which, I think shocked her, that to see that happen. And we've seen a shift in Carol's character. And, one of the things that I wanted to look into was, well, excuse me, is this a good thing for her character, or is it a bad thing? And I think it's a little of both, and I think that it's really something that, depends on the circumstances and depends on the situation. And, looking at characters in general, a lot of the things that these characters have done or maybe will do has been based on the situation in which they have been in. And I think that a lot of it really comes down to each character having to search within themselves and deciding, can I take this action? Will I take this action? And how am I going to deal with it? And I think that different characters along the story have run into those situations. We've definitely seen Rick run into that situation of, being a leader and, pushing himself and thinking, can I kill people? Getting over, the death of Lori and, stepping back, becoming a farmer, really not involved with the decision making, not involved with the killing of walkers or people. And you saw how bad that was, whenever everything happened in season 4, which led him to decide to, reassert himself as a leader and to, be okay with taking these kind of actions. And he had to find that within himself, to find that balance and find that justification. And I think that with Carol, that's really something that she's going through right now. Because when we look back at her character, starting from season 4, we see Carol being a lot stronger as a survivor, no longer really scared, no longer under the, watch of Ed. And, sadly, she loses her daughter and it turns her into a different survivor. And her act of killing Karen and David, in that moment, And, as things progressed, she was able to deal with it in a sense in that moment. She was able to justify it with everything that was going on. And from there, a lot of the things that Carol had done, it's really because of the situations that they were in and the way that she had to deal with it in the moment. Killing Karen and David was, something that she wanted to do to protect people because they were sick. She didn't want other people to get contaminated. You saw with Lizzie and Mika, she wanted to teach them to be better survivors in her mind in that moment. With them being out in the open and things being scary the way that they were, she thought that she was doing a good thing for them. And, obviously it didn't turn out very well. And then, of course, killing the people at Terminus, well, that was something that she was able to deal with because, hey, she had to save her group members. And then you get to the wolves, and again, it's a situation where, people are jumping over the walls, killing people, brutal massacre of people, and Carol had to jump into action. But then as you see things continue, I think that what happened with Carol was really that in that moment with everything going on, she was able to justify it in that moment that this was something that she had to do. She had to kill people in order to allow herself and other people to live, and she could justify it in that way. But, because of the fact that there was this constant, threats being, labeled against the individuals in Alexandria and their group, consistent danger, Carol really didn't have a lot of time to sit down and say, well, if the circumstances were different, what would I think then? And what would, I do then? It's really not something that you can think about. So all this time, Carol really hasn't been able to sit down and process what's going on. And, because of that, I think it continued to, push her to do the things that she was doing. But then once she, gets to this point in episode, 8 and 9, where she, was willing to kill Morgan to kill the wolf and actually doing it, I think that at that point, that was the most extreme that she ever got. And I think that it was a wake-up call for her to really, look at herself and say, what have I done up to this point? Why have I done it? And is it okay? And is it something that maybe I can deal with? And I think that what Carol has done in the space of time between, the 2 months that she was in Alexandria and, the moments when we see in episode 13 when she was captured, I think that Carol had the opportunity to really look back. And I think that she has been able to justify why she did what she did. But I think that the hope is that she was hoping she would never have to be put in a situation like that again. And that the things that she had seen herself do before, she didn't want to do them in the future. And I think that that's really where she was at in episode 12, when she's in Alexandria, when she's cooking food, when she's having a relationship with Tobin, things like that. I think that she had, in a sense, mostly dealt with what she had done before. And I think that when she's writing the names down and she's thinking about the people that she's killed, yeah, in some respects, I think she, does, she feels terrible about having to do that, even though some of these individuals were bad people. But I don't think it haunts her in a way that it, prevents her from being able to live a life and be a good, person or be a survivor. I just think that what it does to her is that it says, I look back on these moments and I don't like some of the things that I see. I saw myself as somebody who killed without really giving it a second thought, and really seeing the distance that it really put between herself and other people and the cold responses that she had. And I think that when she sees people like Paula, Michelle, Malls, and Donnie, the saviors, she saw herself. She saw herself as somebody who was looking at people and she didn't really see, family all the time, and I think that she, had really become somewhat reclusive in a way and really wasn't able to, form those connections as well as other people. She did care, but I don't think that she, had the same love and connection with the group that she did beforehand. And I don't think that she wanted that, and when you look at someone like Paula, who just saw Donnie as somebody who was a sleeping buddy, somebody that kept you warm at night, you kind of see that parallel with her and Sam, and what Carol really saw was just a kid who, needed some guidance, but, that she couldn't really provide it in the right way. She kind of just thought, well, this is a scared kid, and he either needs to, wisen up and get better and be tougher, or he's going to die, and it is what it is. And the constant, way that Carol has, interacted with Sam, or even interacted with Lizzie and Mika, she didn't really see them as her kids, or didn't treat them in that same way. And I think that it really scared her, to think about, well, killing these people and not really having much of a reaction scared her. And I also think that her interactions with other people, that she didn't like the distance that she kind of felt that she had with people, that she wasn't really getting close with them, and she just saw them as arbitrary things rather than something that she could really invest and care about. Because I think that if she had spent a little bit more time with Sam and, got to know him on a more personal level, I think she could have recognized what she needed to do, maybe. It's hard to say. And I think that Carol knows in her heart that she is part of the reason why Sam is dead. And I think that moving forward, what Carol wants is to be able to, be a better survivor, to have those closer interactions, to not have to put herself in a position like that again, where she's forced to kill, because it does things to her that she doesn't like. Now, of course, when we get to episode 13, she is able to bring herself to do it, when the going got rough, when it made it clear that she could no longer avoid it without getting Maggie hurt, she killed Michelle. And when Paula would not go, like she gave her the option to do, Carol had no choice but to do that. And I think that that's really, with each survivor, it's really about finding the ways of dealing with those moments. I remember back in season 4 when Carol was talking with Rick, and Carol said, Rick, you can be a farmer, but you can't just be a farmer. And I think that what that really means is look, it's okay to take on certain roles at certain times, but you can't be that way all of the time. But when it comes to that, you have to be able to, look within yourself and find when it's proper to use different types of, jobs, attitudes, perspective, personalities, and you have to be able to justify those. And I think that that's something that Carol is trying to do right now, and it's something that she's going through that transition, kind of like how Rick had it happen to him. And then with Morgan, you kind of see Morgan going through the same thing. It's like, with Morgan, you see somebody who won't kill, but, we see that he's afraid that if he would kill again, that it would put him back in that position. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to. It's up to the people themselves to really find the balance. And I think that's what Carol is trying to do. She's trying to find that balance that will allow her to do the things that she does to survive, but that it won't make her into this person that she doesn't want to be. She didn't like some of the things that she saw, in season 4, 5, and the first half of season 6 about her personality. And I think that what she wants to do is when she moves forward, she has to be able to find that balance again. And some characters have done that very well, and it's helped them live, but other characters haven't, And that's part of the reason why they're dead, I think, and I think that a couple of examples, for that are like Tyrese, who could not find that balance. And I think that what it comes down to is each character has to do that. And that's really what Carol is doing right now. And I'll be interested to see moving forward if she can look at herself and say, you know what? I am a different person, and I'm going to go forward in a different manner and try my best not to let these things change me, because it's all about circumstances. You put yourself in a different, circumstance, a different situation, you're going to act different. And I think that that's something that each character needs to be able to find that balance with. And I think it makes sense. I think that Carol's "you can't just be a farmer" comment is really prevalent. You can't always be a killer either. You can't always spare people. You can't always be happy. You can't always be sad. You can't always be adopting one, polar, please excuse me, adopting one polar opposite is not something that is a good idea for a zombie apocalypse or for any circumstance in any life. For us to always do the same thing over and over again is not always going to work. We got to find that balance. You got to find that balance to make everything work. And I think that's really something that Carol is going through right now. And it's up to her. It's up to her to really look at herself and say, well, maybe I shouldn't be going outside the walls for a while until I can internalize this and make it okay. Or, maybe, hey, this was the lesson I needed. I know I can do this in the future. Every character has gone through something like this. And some of them have come out better survivors for it, and others haven't. And it's really just a circumstance. But that's what I think is going on with Carol. And I think that's why she, reacted the way that she did. And I think that moving forward, it's something that she's going to have to figure out, and I'll be interested to see if she can and what it will mean for her moving forward. Will it make her stronger, or will it make her weaker? I'm not sure, but it could go either way, and I can't wait to find out what will happen. So with that, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I want to thank all of you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, don't be afraid to leave them. Feel free to subscribe. I do have more videos coming. And if you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see, don't be afraid to suggest them. I hope you all have a very wonderful evening, and thank you very much for watching.